mais indispensable.
So
I got it so far.
Okay. You're proposing a criticism of,
Yes. Yeah.
that would be of liberalism.
Yeah, yeah.
Donc, vous proposez une critique du multiculturalisme qui relève donc d'une certaine pensée libérale. Vous indiquez très justement la régression libérale, la régression de la démocratie libérale dans des sociétés qui multiplient les accommodements pour plaire aux revendications identitaires, aux revendications communautaristes. Vous indiquez bien, par exemple, la régression de la liberté d'expression et ainsi de suite au niveau des mœurs. Est-ce que vous ne croyez pas, cela dit, que la critique du multiculturalisme peut et doit se doubler, si je puis dire, d'une critique nationale? C'est-à-dire que la meilleure manière de critiquer le multiculturalisme ne consiste pas seulement à reprocher, si je puis dire, à certaines populations immigrées de ne pas avoir intériorisé les codes libéraux des sociétés modernes avancées, mais aussi quelquefois dans la défense de l'identité nationale particulière des communautés, des nations qui sont confrontées au phénomène du multiculturalisme. Autrement dit, est-ce que la critique libérale du multiculturalisme, indispensable, ne devrait pas se compléter aussi d'une critique au nom de la défense des identités nationales, l'identité norvégienne, l'identité danoise, l'identité française et probablement l'identité québécoise?
Should the criticism of multiculturalism, liberal values, should not also be enjoined also with the criticism, or not criticism, but the defense of local identities, national identities?
It depends on what you mean by local national identities. What?
Par exemple, l'apprentissage d'un point de vue québécois, par exemple, la légitimité de transmettre une histoire, de transmettre une langue, la légitimité de transmettre culture et tradition. Autrement dit, d'épaissir la démocratie libérale de l'expérience historique nationale singulière là où elle a éclos.
Well, I think that is important. I think, I mean, part of what is, I mean, take France, for example. You know, there was a report that came out. Well, it didn't exactly come out. A report that the French Ministry of Education commissioned several years ago, where they sent people around to 70-something schools. Do you know about this? The Aubin report. You know, and they came back with very sensational and disturbing findings, and they found that, among other things. And this is a line from the report: Jewish children cannot get an education in France today because of the systematic harassment by Muslim children. But in addition to that, there has been so much avoidance of teaching of the cultural history of France, for example, in that case, because there are things that they feel are going to offend Muslim sensibilities. They can't read Madame Bovary because it's too salacious. They can't read Chrétien de Troyes because it's too Christian. And so forth. They can't talk about certain aspects of history. They certainly don't. They try their best to avoid the Holocaust as much as possible because the Muslim children will either stand up and say it was a good thing or it never happened. And you know, of course, you probably know this too, that the report was so sensational, the French government tried to shelve it. And thank God for the internet, because somebody leaked it out, and it got out anyway, and we got to read it. But nothing's happened, as far as I know, as a result of it. No, these countries have this. They're ashamed of their histories. They're ashamed of their cultures. Not the ordinary people, the people running the country, the cultural elites, the media. They think it's sophisticated not to be proud of their countries and their cultures. In Sweden, a friend of mine, Hege Storhaug, who is one of these rare, wonderful women in Europe, who is a true feminist, who is fighting for the rights of women in Muslim communities. She was at a conference, seminar or something in Sweden a couple of years ago. And the Swedish Minister of Integration, or whatever her title was giving a talk. And Hege stood up and asked her, you know, it was all this multiculturalism stuff. It was all this, you know, how wonderful it is that, you know, we're bringing all this different cultures into our. country. And Hege stood up and said, well, what about Swedish values? And the minister went, what are Swedish values? Her point being simply, it's as if they see their own countries as blank slates. They don't see the values. They're blind to their own values that make their lives what they are. It's as if they're blank slates, and the people we're bringing in from the Muslim countries, they're the ones who have values. They're enriching us with values because all we have is this neutral space. There really is that kind of mentality at the top in many of these countries.
Mr. Bauer, there's a question that came through the internet, and one of them would be, aren't you concerned that maybe when you're talking the way you are, that maybe some people that would be from the extreme right, they may adhere to some of your discourse?
There exists this problem. This is a very serious problem. And Europe is going to be increasingly a mess in a few years because those of us who care about freedom, about liberty, are going to be dealing with a struggle with the Islamo-fascists, and we're going to be struggling with fascists, ethnic fascists, European fascists, who are resisting the Islamo-fascists. And this is happening. They are growing in power because the mainstream political parties are not addressing this issue. In one country after another, parties like the BNP in Britain, Le Pen in France, Vlaams Belang in Belgium, the Sweden Democrats in Sweden, these are becoming more and more powerful parties because they are talking about Islam. They're talking about integration and immigration, and the mainstream parties are refusing to do it. And it is a problem, and it does, when one writes about this sort of thing, as I do, you do hear from people like this telling you that they agree with you, and we're talking about people with some very extreme opinions. And one thing that is hard, I found is difficult in the States at least, when I'm talking to people about this sort of thing, is that they don't seem to understand, and it may be the same here, I don't know. A lot of Americans don't seem to understand that when we say fascism, there really is fascism in Europe. There is still a strain of fascism in Europe. We fought it, we fought it 60 years ago, but it doesn't mean it all went away. There's still strains of that same fascism in Europe, that extremism. And in America, people are so used to hearing the word fascist thrown around. Oh, George W. Bush is a fascist, so forth. But there really are fascists in Europe, and that's true, and that is a problem, yes.
So many things have been said here, and I don't know exactly what to say, but I have an important question.
Yeah.
I can't believe that the actual situation in Europe will continue like that for a long time. People are getting fed up of that.
Mm-hmm.
Listening to you tonight, I
Yeah.
must say that I was tempted to go to the United States. I was just thinking about that because
Yeah.
I'm not really an extremist. But just to go to the United States, buy guns there, and start a militia.
Yeah.
I think we will have to do that. I mean, this is unbelievable. And as you say, that the actual party do not address the question. That's why what they call the fascist or the extreme right party. But the dynamic of that is a bit more subtle. I'm not condemning people like Le Pen. I know there's a lot of things to criticize about him, but it's too easy to diabolize, to say that about that. But the question is, do you believe possibility of a civil war, that Europe is heading to a civil war? Because I was reading a book very interesting by René Marchand titled Between Jihad and Reconquista.